Every year, on the fourth Sunday of Easter, the lectionary has us consider Jesus' role as shepherd. The Bible often refers to leaders of people metaphorically as shepherds, both good ones and not so good. As an example of the not so good, Jeremiah condemned leaders of 6th century Judah when he wrote, "For the shepherds are stupid and do not inquire of the Lord. Therefore they have not prospered, and their flock is scattered." Those shepherds misled their flocks in following the ways of false gods. Today we focus not on poor examples, but on the one exemplar for all who aspire to Christian leadership, Jesus, the Good Shepherd. The makings for a truly deep study on leadership are found in the 10th chapter of John's Gospel. But today, let's just take 3 examples from the part of John's Gospel that comprises today's second lesson. First of all, Jesus leads by example. The true shepherd leads the sheep out of where they are enclosed and goes ahead of them, showing the way to green pastures and fresh water. It is hard for me to think about leadership without thinking about schools, as I served in them for more than 30 years. Great classroom teachers lead by example, albeit nowadays remotely over a platform like Zoom. In order to teach a new skill, a time-tested way to begin is for the teacher to demonstrate the skill, explaining each step along the way. Only after this initial modeling does the teacher have the students practice the skill under his or her direct guidance. A good teacher knows that students will make mistakes and is generally prepared to turn errors into opportunities for learning. The best teachers model this in their own lives, soliciting constructive criticism and using their own errors as a chance to regroup. All of God's faithful are called to set an example for others, especially for our youngest members. Jesus commanded us to love one another so that the world might take note of this love, so that others would know that we are Christians. Living in this way is how we can model for and inspire other people. Jesus gave us the example of leading by example, or what we might call on the fourth Sunday of Easter, shepherd leadership. Second of all, Jesus leads by respecting boundaries. In John's shepherd metaphor, the shepherd is the one who enters by the gate. Those who seek to steal sheep, the ones who intend harm, will climb over or break down the fence. They do not respect boundaries. Perhaps the COVID-19 world in which we live is going to give us plenty of opportunities to show leadership by respecting boundaries. Keeping at least 6 feet apart from people not of our own household is going to be more challenging, especially as we begin to see reopened services like restaurants and retail stores opening at 25% capacity. If this is going to have any chance of working, we need those who do venture out to show leadership in this area. There are many folks who may go on autopilot and just brush by folks in the aisles. Shepherd leadership requires that we respect the social distancing boundaries, even as others do not. Should other shoppers see us waiting at the end of an aisle to take our turn at the shelves, perhaps they will be reminded. If you're age 65 or above, respect for these boundaries may take the form of continuing to use curbside service for picking up essential items, or of enlisting the help of others, even as more businesses do open their doors. Third, and finally, we see in this metaphor that the sheep follow the shepherd because they know his voice. He is not a stranger to them. In other words, the shepherd has engendered trust among the sheep. Over time, he has consistently acted in their best interest. Over time, following him has worked out for good. Perhaps not immediately, but eventually green pasture and water would come into view as the sheep trotted in the shepherd's footsteps. Over time, the sheep learn to recognize and trust their shepherd's voice. Our reading from the first letter of Peter tells us that no deceit was to be found in Jesus' mouth. That means he told the truth, even when the truth was not easy to give. Just imagine how hard it was to say to Peter, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. I'm reminded here of a story from a book on management published in 2004, a New York Times bestseller entitled The Way of the Shepherd. At one point, the college professor in the story describes what he learned from his own father. His father was the kind of person who acted the same in private as he did in public. This professor recalled the time one summer when, as a teenager, he had seriously strayed by stealing the family car and wrecking it. The first thing his father did on seeing that his son was not hurt was to hug him. Then and only then did he express his disappointment and set forth the consequences. It was a long and hard summer as the son worked to pay for the repair of their station wagon. Looking back on it all, he recalled that his father was strict, but he always knew that his father loved him. His father's love was consistent, and it showed even when he did something dumb. This dad showed shepherd leadership in the way he parented, and the boy grew up knowing he could trust his dad's love in good times and in bad. May God give us the grace to follow the footsteps of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, in the way we lead by example by what we say and do, in the way we respect boundaries, even when others do not, and in the way we earn the trust of those who are closest to us. Amen.